Let's take a look at some of the basics to the djembe by exploring the hand and the arm technique. And to do this, I'm going to start with one of the first sounds that I would suggest you start playing, the bass. And the bass is played right in the middle of the djembe here. So I think there's two things you'd want to look at: the state of your hands when you're making this sound, but some general points about the movement that takes place. Let's have a look at the hands first. So I'm going to have my hands, I'm going to have them resting on the drum to begin with, and I want to have them really relaxed, and I'm going to have them nice and flat. Now when I say flat, I don't mean having your hands completely sort of flat to the point where they become stiff and they become concave. I mean really just flat but soft. And you can really spend some time just feeling the sensation of the palm of your hands on the drum so that you feel all of the underneath your fingers, all of your palm. And actually this is sometimes an important thing, is with your thumbs here, rather than having them completely sort of sideways like that, you might want to turn them in just a tiny little bit so that you can feel the pad of the thumb there making contact with the drum. And that's all of that hand is where you're going to be making contact with the drum when you make the bass sound. So there are the hands. Now I'm just going to give you an example of what we want to be working towards. And you'll notice that most of the movement I'm really doing is not so much with the wrist, like what you would use if you were a kit player using sticks. Most of this is coming from the elbow, and we're using all of the forearm. In fact, you want to almost imagine that this is your stick. So there isn't a great deal of movement with the wrist. It's all coming from here. Okay. So basically, it's like this. Your arm goes up and it goes down. You start on the djembe, you start here in the resting position, your arm goes up and it goes down and down. And you quite literally, you give up your arm. So I actually think this is something pretty universal with any drumming really, is that the only bit you really do is you lift. And this is where it can get a little bit problematic when people first playing, because quite often when people are playing the djembe for the first time, the hands are not in this resting position to begin with. What actually you find is that people are sort of permanently, they have their hands here. Now if you sort of have your hands always in the air and you're not sort of keeping close to the drum, you don't have any lift. All you can really do is do this. Now I'm having to actually force my hand onto the drum, and I'm actually having to physically do something as my hand comes down. So there's loads of tension going on in my elbows here. And I'm completely sort of locked in this position. And I'm not making a great sound, it's sounding a bit ugly, I can hear the surface. And after a short while, my hands are going to feel pretty red and pretty sore. So it's quite an important thing is to really understand the lift part of the drumming is the important bit. It's getting used to lifting and giving it up. Now giving up that arm does take a little bit of time because you will have a little bit of tension here. So sometimes you might feel you're playing and you might just be doing that. So the first thing really is use the practice of the bass to really get used to that sense of gravity, that sense of dropping your arm down onto the drum. And as you see, as my arms drop down onto the drum, I'm getting a bounce effect in the drum, in the middle there. This is a really kind of highly taut skin, and there's a spring effect. So when you feel that sensation of the drum bouncing your hand off, which is really nice sensation because it makes you feel as if the drum's doing some of the work for you. Try and avoid the hand just landing back on the drum, because obviously when you do that, you're losing all that resonance, all that boom sound. Instead, let the bounce take your arm back into a resting position, which is around here. Now in reality, when you're playing fast, you never have that resting position, but it's, for this stage, something just to get used to.